Hello and welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about the classes and object. We're going to discuss few problems, few questions, problem statements related to classes and objects. Okay, so solve few questions, namely two questions. Okay, so in previous videos, we have discussed the detail about classes and objects. There are two more topics which is left, that is static method and class method, which we'll be discussing in the next video. In this video, we're going to solve few questions. Okay. So namely, these are the 6 questions which I liked, and you can put your stress on like for understanding classes better. But in this video specifically, I'm going to discuss 2 questions which are circled over here, which is we're going to have a fraction and we're going to have attributes like numerator and denominator, and then we need to simplify. Okay, we need to simplify that fraction. And second is the string is going to get, or the statement is going to get inserted or input by the user, and you need to analyze it and give these tags like uppercase characters, vowels, consonants, spaces, okay, and many more. We will see what we're going to have. Okay, so these are 2 questions which I'm going to discuss in this video. Let's get into interactive shell without further ado. I don't think you will be able to see it, but I'm moving towards the presentation mode. So this is it. So now our first question is like we're going to write a program that has a class function which has attribute numerator and denominator as their attributes. Okay, and we're going to enter the value of that. We're going to enter the value of these attributes. I'm going to print the fraction in the simplified form. One thing over here I'm going to talk about mainly is I'm going to do every operation, you know, the simplification operation and the stuff like that. I'm going to do it in, you know, private mode. Okay, so that you will be able to handle private programs also, okay, if they are necessary. Okay, I'm not going to use init method in this particular I'm not going to use the constructor that is init method in this particular program, but you can do it using init method also, because it is just a self declaration. But important to know that you should always have a self attribute in all the methods, or in all the methods inside a class. Okay, so what we're going to have is we're going to have a class which is we're going to call as fraction. Okay, or you can give any name, frac, fraction. Okay, yes, so fraction, yes, what is the issue? Okay, it should be a camel case. So these are good practices, like having camel cases for the class name, then it should be like title case for function names. Okay, stuff like that. Now here I'm going to have 2 things, like I want to get the data from the user, and then I also want to display the data. So there will be 2 specific functions. Those are get data and the display data. Okay, so I'm going to write 2 functions like get data, which is going to get data from the user. Okay, and of course the self attribute, we are using interactive shell, that is IDE, so it's autocomplete thing like that. Okay, so we have a self attribute. Okay, we need to say everything. So I am putting num, that is the numerator, and it is going to be a private member. Okay, and I want to get input, I want to have it as an input from a user, so I write like enter the numerator. Okay, so the user is going to get input the numerator. Then again I'm going to have one more private one more private variable, that is the denominator, and it's going to be int again, input, enter the denominator. Okay, so these are 2 most important things that I want from the user. But there is one base case. Base case means one specific case where we cannot proceed. What that is, like we cannot simplify the fractions which are having denominator 0. So we write like self if, like if a self dot denominator is equals to 0. If denominator is equals to 0, we need to say like print we need to print that fraction simplification is not possible. So we'll write like fraction is not possible. So it is important to get this aspect also, okay, where the particular program will not be possible, and then I'm going to get exited from the program. Okay, so this is also important that you see the base cases also. Okay, then I'm going to define a function which is going to display. Okay, before displaying, we will see how do we simplify it. Okay, so I'm going to have a private method simplify, okay, which is going to take again just a self argument. I don't need anything else. Now I'm going to directly write the simplified fraction is, because from here we're going to put an output, right? Simplified fraction is whatever the fraction it will be. Okay, now how do I simplify a fraction? Okay, let's see that. What I have is, suppose I have 2 by, or let's say 4 by 8. Okay, how do I simplify it? I first need to find the common divisor of that. Okay, and how do I find the common divisor? I find it using GCD, greatest common divisor, right? So first of all, I need to find the common divisor. In this case, we have 2, like, yes, 4 divided by 2. Okay, do you get that? 4 divided by 2, and this whole will be divided by 8 divided by 2, right? So this is going to give me like 2 divided by 8 or 2 divided by 4, right? So this is the simplification. Again, I can do like, if either having 2, I can also have 4, which can that will be the greatest common divisor, that is GCD. So first I need to calculate GCD of that particular fraction. Okay, so for simplification I need a common divisor. Okay, so common divisor, and this common divisor will be calling a function that will also be a private, that is GCD. Okay, what is GCD? GCD is greatest common divisor, and it's going to take two attributes, that is num as well as denominator. All right, so this is going to get 2 attributes. So now let us first of all define a GCD function, okay, before moving forward. So if I do like def, it is a private method, so GCD, and the self is compulsory, and then I have a and b. Let's say we have 2, that is numerator and denominator. So I do it by a and b. We can change the attribute, yes. So if the base case, like if one of the number is 0, like if b is, let's say b is 0, then what? Then I need to return a. So a, that is, you know, like return that particular, the common divisor will be the first number. Okay, return a. Else if it is not, if b is not 0, then return self dot GCD of b and a modulus b. Yes, a modulus b. Okay, so this is very basic thing basically. Okay, because it is mathematics. Okay, now we have the common divisor. Now what we need is, we need to divide that particular numerator to that common divisor and denominator to that common divisor. Like self dot num will be self dot num divided by, I need to divide it by common divisor, right? Similarly, I'm going to do the same for denominator, right? I'm going to get divided by denominator. Any issues? No. Now this is what we have simplified. Now, okay, this is what going to get our output. Like first what we do is, first we have everything like fractions, get data, then simplification, okay, and then GCD. Then what we do is, now we are going to print the thing. Okay, so we have def displaying data, so display data. Okay, and it's going to have the self attribute as usual. Now what I'm going to call is, I'm going to call the simplify method, which is not going to have any attribute because it is not taking any attribute, and I'm going to print, like I want to display like self num, okay, the answer of numerator, okay, and sorry for this, and then I'm going to have because I want to print it like in this form, no, 1 divided by 4 in this form. So this is it, like divided by, and then I'm going to have the denominator like self dot denominator. Okay, so this is our main function, oh sorry, this is our main class, like self. Okay, we are going to have the get data function, we're going to have the display function, then we simplify, and then we do is get the GCD. Now we're going to create an object for calling the function. So we have f as, and I've called the function. Is there any issue? Okay, sorry, f is capital. Okay, so we have our function, fraction function class, then f dot, I'm going to get the data. I'm able to access the get data only because it is not private, right? And then I'm going to write display data. I'm also able to access the display function only because it is not private. Okay, so now let us run this. So I'm going to input the numerator like 20 and the denominator 100, and we get the simplification. We got it on float, no issues, right? We can have it on float. So 1.5 is our answer. Okay, so this is it. I'll move towards the next question. What the question we have is, we have to write a class that stores a string and all its status details, such as numbers of uppercase characters, vowels, consonants, and spaces. Okay, so this is also a very good question. Like, this is related to the question which we the concept of string, you know, formatting, or let's say string manipulation. Okay, so let's move towards our editor. And again, we're going to move to presentation mode. So here in this question, what we have is, we're going to write a class which is storing a string, and it is going to get the status of the number, which are vowels like spaces. What we're going to have is, I'm going to write over here, like we're going to have vowels, we're going to have spaces, you have consonants, if the spelling is right, consonants, sorry, consonants, then we're going to have upper cases, then lower cases, upper cases, lower cases, and just, okay, these are the stuff which we wanna get status of. Okay, so first, without wasting time, let's create a class which is string. Okay, let's say string, and here I'm going to use the def init function. Okay, init method. It's not going to take anything, but here, what is the function of, function of init method? It is the constructor. It's going to initialize all the variables it's going to use. Okay, so let's say we are going to use vowels, 0 len self dot spaces, and I'm writing like self.string, which is going to get the input from the user, like str input, enter the string. Okay, enter the string. Now this is going to take the input. So this is the init method. The second thing we're going to have is going to count the uppercase. Now I'm going to write the function. Okay, everything you will directly see, then I'll explain you. Okay, like count the uppercase. How do you count the uppercase? By iterating over the array, like or iterating over the string. Okay, so this is how we're going to do. I'll come back, wait a minute. So here in this program, what we have is def count uppercase. So how do we iterate over the string? We iterate it using, for loop. Okay, and we'll do like letters in strings. If it is uppercase, then increment it by 1. If it is lowercase over here, then increment it by 1. How do we check if it is a vowel or not? Just by, if the letter is in A, E, I, O, U, you're going to iterate over all the stuff. Yes, if it is, then increment. If it is in the capital case, then increment it. Yes, vowel will be incremented by 1. Similarly, if it is having spaces, then increment it by 1. If it is having consonants, what I have used is, if letter is not in this particular tuple, then increment the consonants by 1. Similarly, how do I compute it? I call all the function. It's going to get incremented. We're going to have the values, and then I have written like show the stats, and here I have used the formatting operator like %d and then %self.vowel, self.consonants and everything, and then I have created an object. I have called the method, two methods, though both are not private, so I'm able to access it. So s.compute stats and s.show stats. So these is the program. Let's run it out. Okay, let's see, do we have any error or like, though I have already run it. So this is the a string which I'm going to check, like this program must show statistics of this string, and this is the statistics of these strings. So we have 11 vowels, we have 38 consonants, we have 7 species, and so on. Okay, so this is a program. Just try all these programs. You can get the source code, or you can get the code of all these 6 code on my blogspot very soon. Okay, you can check the link in the description. Okay, and yes, thank you. This is it. Just click on the subscribe button so that you get regular update, because in the next videos I'm going to talk about one of the most important methods, that is class methods and static method. I'm also talk about, in upcoming videos, I'm going to talk about like hierarchy, hierarchy, inheritance, and more features of object oriented programming, because this is a very long series, object oriented programming. Okay, like, share, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.